I'm about to purchase my 30th Turo car, and so in this video, I'm going to break down how my husband HP and I manage our car sharing fleet, and I'm also going to be talking about some of the key steps and components that have allowed for us to scale our fleet over the last 6 years. But before we dive into that, Christmas is here, and what better way to treat yourself than starting your very own peer-to-peer car sharing business? From December 14th to December 25th, you can get $150 off the car sharing masterclass by using the code Christmas150. The Car Sharing Masterclass is an extensive 7-hour course that teaches you everything you need to know about starting and scaling a car sharing business with the same business model that I've used. Over the last 6 years, I've grown my fleet to nearly 30 cars that generate anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000 each and every month. And with the Car Sharing Masterclass, I teach you how to do the same. Throughout the course, we'll go over everything you need to know, from how to buy cars, how to determine which cars are the right ones to buy, what to avoid when purchasing cars, key exchanges, communicating with guests, how to automate your business to make it semi-passive, how to navigate insurance, protection packages, damage claims. In fact, I am so confident with the quality of education that you'll receive with the Car Sharing Masterclass that we also offer a robust, no questions asked, money-back guarantee at no risk to you. So if you want to start your car sharing side hustle in 2024 and you want to lock in your spot into the Car Sharing Masterclass at a discounted price, then be sure to use the code Christmas150 before December 25th and you can get $150 off your purchase. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Aubrey Janik, and I have a Turo fleet of nearly 30 cars. I've been on the Turo platform since 2017, and I'm nearing 5,000 trips on the Turo platform. Over the years, I've been creating content here on YouTube, talking about how to grow, start, scale a car sharing fleet with the same business model that I've been using for years. Now on to how I manage my fleet and some of the key components to my success on Turo. First is remote key exchanges. Now this is a topic that I talk about a lot on my channel, and it's a hill that I will very happily die on. If you are a Turo host and you're not doing remote key exchanges, you are missing out. It's as simple as that. Remote key exchanges are when you place a lockbox at the vehicle and you give the guest pickup instructions, and once they follow those instructions, you give them access to the car via a lockbox. The alternative option to this is meeting your guest in person, giving them a tour of the vehicle, verifying their license in person, and then sending them on their way. The problem about in-person key exchanges is that whenever you meet a guest in person, you're at the mercy of their schedule and of their timing. And the reality is, guests are late all the time, they're early, they have weird schedules, they're unresponsive, they extend, they like to pick up at odd times. And when all of these different instances occur, you are at the mercy of their schedule and of their timing. And whenever you do in-person key exchanges, you have to base your schedule off of all of these different factors. And not only does that create a huge inconvenience to you, but it also can limit your pool of renters that are renting your cars, and it can limit your revenue. But if you do remote key exchanges, none of those other previously mentioned factors really matter at all. With remote key exchanges, guests can be late, they can be early, they can change their plans, they can rent a car at 10 p.m. or at 5 a.m. Regardless of the scenario, it doesn't affect your schedule one bit. Utilizing remote key exchanges has been crucial to not only allow for me to grow my Turo fleet, but to also grow my other businesses as well. And I am such a firm believer that if you want longevity on Turo, remote key exchanges is without a doubt the way to go. I have nearly a dozen projects going on at any given time between content creation and social media, my consulting job, real estate, our Turo fleet, and there is no way that I would ever be able to accomplish all that I've accomplished over the last few years if I was meeting every single guest in person. It would just be impossible. Remote key exchanges has been the absolute foundation to my success on Turo, and if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend that you do. On that note, the next topic that I want to talk about is side hustles or having other jobs in conjunction with running a Turo fleet. This is also a topic that I've talked about in other videos, but one of the big reasons why I've been able to grow my fleet to nearly 30 cars without accumulating any real debt. I've talked about this in previous videos, but one of the big reasons why I've been able to grow my fleet to 30 cars without taking any debt, with the exception of my recent purchase, which was a Lincoln Navigator L, is because of the fact that I never quit my day job. I think that sometimes people have a tendency to quit their day job too early in order to pursue a side hustle full time. I grew my Turo fleet whenever I had a consulting job and whenever I was working as a freelancer. I then continued to grow it after I quit my freelancing job and decided to pursue YouTube. All the while, I still had my consulting job, and even today, I still don't rely on Turo for 100% of my income. And truthfully, I probably never will. The first few years of us starting on Turo, we reinvested every single dollar that we made back into the Turo business. In fact, it was fairly common for us to pull our money that we made through our job or through other side hustles in order to buy more cars in cash. And a big reason why we were able to comfortably accomplish this is because we weren't using Turo and our income that we made from Turo to live off of. I think if you quit your job too early, you run the risk of taking money from the business too early, and thus you're hindering your ability to grow very early on. For this reason, I would encourage any new Turo host to keep your job in the beginning and don't get too ahead of yourself and quit your day job right as you begin to gain traction with Turo. Another key component to our success on Turo has been the ability to work on our own cars. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a mechanic or that you even have to be willing to actually do the work on your cars. In fact, I hear this all the time. You're just successful on Turo because your husband is good at working on cars. But many people don't know that I started Turo after my husband HP and I had only been dating for a couple of years. He had a full-time job, he was not actively involved in the fleet. In fact, he was adamantly against it because he hated the idea of me renting out my personal car. And so when I first got started with Turo, while I did have HP as a resource, he wasn't actively involved in the fleet at that time, or at least not nearly as much as he is today. And the reality is I had to learn about cars, and I feel incredibly strongly about the fact that if you're somebody who's wanting to have success on Turo and with car sharing, you have to have a willingness to learn about cars. Even if you don't want to actually be the one wrenching on your vehicles, you need to be open to learning about cars because you want to be able to recognize whenever an issue is arising with the vehicles that you own, or be able to recognize whenever preventative maintenance is due, when an issue has popped up and what could be causing that issue, and of course, you want to be able to navigate car shops and mechanics. Sure, I don't know how to replace suspension components on my cars, but I do know what it sounds like when suspension components need to be replaced. And I don't know how to replace motor mounts, but I do know what the signs are when motor mounts also need to be replaced. Aside from basic oil changes and brake jobs, I don't know how to do intense mechanical work on cars, but I do know how to diagnose basic issues with cars, and I also know my way around cars enough to where I could call out a sleazy mechanic if they were to quote me for something ridiculous. Obviously, not really an issue I run into since HP handles most of the mechanical stuff with their cars, but I could deal with it if I absolutely had to. Like anything, you want to be well educated in the line of work that you're in, and car sharing is absolutely no different. Not feeling comfortable to work on your own cars whenever they're being rented out, that's a valid feeling, but that doesn't give you an excuse to not learn about cars. At the end of the day, the best Turo hosts that I know are the ones that know their way around a vehicle, they know how to at least fix basic items, and they at the very least know how to diagnose an issue when one comes up. On a similar topic of keeping your day job, another component that's been important to HP and I is keeping overhead as low as possible. In fact, it's been so important to us that as we grow out of our home garage, we're having a really hard time committing to a commercial space for our shop and rental operation. But it does look like 2024 may actually be the year that we make our leap. I think with any business, it can be really easy to get ahead of yourself and say, okay, I'm making money today, it's time to go invest into a lot or a shop or an office. And truthfully, I think the idea here is great. I mean, who doesn't want a badass shop to work out of? But the reality is, this is a money suck. HP and I made the decision in 2021 that instead of us spending anywhere between $3 to $5 grand a month renting out a shop, we would turn our home garage into a shop. And this has served us extremely well. And just now at 30 cars, 33 if you include our personal vehicles, we are finally starting to feel like we're outgrowing our space. So the point is, pay attention to your overhead. Don't buy a shop or a space sooner than you need to. Don't hire an employee earlier than makes sense. And when making big financial decisions and investments, ask yourself the question of, will this investment allow for me to make more money? If the answer is yes, then it probably makes sense to move forward. But if the answer is no, then it is a hard pass. With Turo, you don't need a shop whenever you're first starting out. You just don't. We do everything with our cars in our house, to mechanical work, replacing body panels, body work. We've even painted a car in our garage. In fact, we've done it 3 times. We've pushed the limits of what a small residential 2-car garage can do. And at the end of the day, I'm extremely happy that we've done that because it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years in what would have been paid in rent. And by saving that money, we have been able to continue to grow relatively debt-free. And finally, the biggest component to HP and I's success on Turo has been learning how to navigate depreciation and buying cars below market value. This component is absolutely crucial, and it's something that you must understand if you want to have longevity on Turo. Now, I have a full-length video planned for January that's going to be diving into this topic in extreme depth, so for this video, I'm going to keep it relatively surface level. But I get asked all the time, how do I take into account depreciation with my cars? And the answer is, I really don't. And people always think I'm lying. The reality is my cars don't really depreciate. And what this means is that I can buy a car, I can list that car on Turo, have it active on the Turo platform for a number of years where it's generating the income. And then if that car is in an accident, if it gets totaled, if it needs to be sold, I can get rid of that car and get paid the same price I paid for that car, if not more. This means that throughout the duration of ownership for this vehicle, this car has cost me nothing, but it's been generating income each and every month. In fact, over the course of my career on Turo, there have been many, many instances where I buy a car, I have that car on Turo for a number of years, and then it gets totaled by a Turo guest, and Turo actually pays me out more than what I paid for the car originally. One of the most extreme examples of this was my 2008 Hyundai Accent. I purchased this car for around $2,800. I had it on Turo up until 2022. It was then totaled by a guest, and whenever it was totaled, I was paid out nearly $7,000 for the car. I've had other instances where I have a car, it gets damaged in an accident, Turo actually pays me for that damage more than I originally paid for that car. The car is not deemed a total loss. I get the car fixed and then I send it back on the Turo platform and I get to make a massive profit. And this is all because of the fact that I understand depreciation. I understand what price I need to buy cars at, and I understand what buying below market value truly means. This is an avenue that you can pursue that makes you a ton of money on Turo, and it's something that many newer Turo hosts just simply don't understand. Where Turo goes horribly wrong with people is whenever people overpay for cars. They buy new cars or they buy cars that are about to depreciate a ton. And by buying cars that are below market value and that are at the bottom of their depreciation curve, not only do you create yourself a safety net if something does go wrong, but you also create an entirely new revenue stream for your Turo fleet because it puts you in a situation where you can actually profit off of total losses rather than lose money whenever your cars are in an accident. And this isn't something that's exclusive to my fleet. In fact, I see it all the time with people who practice similar business models. Many of my course members do the same thing. You buy cars that are already depreciated, you buy these cars below market value, and if the time comes where this car is totaled or it needs to be sold, you can make a hefty profit. And so not only did you make money on this car while it was being rented out, but you also make money on the car on the back end as well whenever the deal is completely done and the car is out of your hands. And you accomplish this by understanding depreciation, understanding the value of cars, and understanding how to secure below market value deals. But there you guys have it, the fundamentals to my success on Turo. Remote key exchanges, keeping my day job so that I could reinvest back into the fleet, keeping overhead low, and understanding depreciation and market values for vehicles. These are the core components to my success on Turo, and if you take these into account, I'm sure that you'll find more success on Turo as well. If you're interested in checking out the car sharing masterclass, you can use the code Christmas150 until December 25th to get $150 off your purchase. You can check out that link down in the description below. And like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.